Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chazin. I am a New York-based business growth coach, and I want to talk today about leadership. I have heard so many people talking about leadership, posting cute little memes on LinkedIn, but so many people are misstating what leadership is and failing to identify what it is not. So today's video is 35 years, my experience, 20 in corporate, 15 plus coaching organizations. This is what transformational leadership looks like. Let's start out with a fundamental question, okay? What is it? What is it not? So what does it take to be a leader? First off, is it the right person in the right role at the right time? Vis-a-vis Churchill during World War II. Are there many different categories of leader? Absolutely. Are some better than others? No way to tell. In fact, I would say it's a defeatist attitude to look at one versus another. All may be situationally correct based on mitigating circumstances. None is right, none is wrong, solely in and of itself. So the next question, is it something you're born with? Or can you cultivate it? The whole nature-nurture conversation. I would argue, why does it have to be mutually exclusive? Why can't it be both? Why can't certain individuals possess certain key characteristics, traits, attributes that lend themselves to effective leadership? But you can also gather those skills through a lifetime of introspection and also having a growth mindset of learning. So, in my humble opinion, based on 35 years of experience watching other people, training it, developing leadership myself, there are certain traits, qualities, characteristics, skills that are in leaders. So we're going to talk about that. It demands strong character. You can't say, do as I say. You can't do that. You've got to lead by example. It's having a strong moral compass, having an ethical construct. If you're a narcissistic sociopath, if you only care about yourself, there's no way in hell you can be an effective leader, right? So what are those characteristics, qualities, traits? I mentioned it before. Lifelong learners are constantly figuring out how to advance themselves, gather new information, model best behavior. Is it tenacity? A real stick-to-itness, Carol Dweck and Angela Duckworth, growth mindset, being gritty. Those are the attributes. Compassion, caring for other people, and dare I say empathy, which don't get it twisted. Don't confuse that with sympathy. Sympathy is having some kind of emotional reaching out to somebody else, but empathy is a lot deeper, right? Empathy is trying to the extent possible to take what somebody else is feeling, and even if you can't relate to it, try to put yourself in their situation so that you can almost begin to feel a modicum of what they are feeling. Honest and transparent, being open, being communicative, sharing what's on your mind in a very real, authentic, mature sense of the word, being honest. You have to be authentic. You can only be yourself. There's nobody else that you can be. Transparency is being upright and forthright and honest with other people. So the other aspect, the other characteristic of great leadership is a willingness to fail. In fact, not running from failure, but embracing it. See, there's an inherent psychological dilemma that goes on, and I call it the coward of fear of failure, the cowardice of fear of failure. We make excuses not to risk, not to try, not to get outside our comfort zone, but a willingness to make mistakes is the path towards achieving greatness. Other skills that I've identified and I train in leaders when I do one-on-one executive and leadership business owner coaching is not being averse to risk taking, but right now in Trump 2.0, we live in insanely chaotic times. It's the bona fide leaders who are willing to embrace risk taking for the reward on the other end, where the opportunity is staring us right in the face. Leaders inspire others to greatness. That's the word leadership. You can't lead if you don't have followers. A rising tide lifts all boats. That's what inspiration looks like. Leaders have a vision. He or they know where they're going. They can see clear as day where it may be obfuscation, it may be, not readily apparent. It may be foggy or uncertain to others, but it's clear to them. They can convey it. They're passionate about it, and other people gravitate to that, like a moth to a flame. And they are constantly saying, what am I going to leave behind when all is said and done? In their families, in their social relationships, in their business pursuits, in their partnerships, the legacy that they're constantly laying the foundation of brick by brick, relationship by relationship, day in and day out. So I'm going to say right now, I call bullshit. I call timeout to all the people who claim they're leaders, but they're nothing more than managers. Those are not the same. Those are mutually exclusive, right? There's no symbiosis. There's no managing and leading are the same. Management is detrimental. Management's 20th century. Leadership is necessary for 21st century organizational growth. So what do I mean by that? Management, the Latin mano agere, or the French management, it literally means to control. People are assets, resources to be cultivated. It literally means direct other people, whether it's by the carrot or the stick. Manipulation is fine. Abuse of others is fine. It's the deployment of human assets, which is so, as Gandhi said, it is beneath human dignity to treat people as if they're a cog in a machine. Well, management is all about that. It's a vestige of 20th century industrial manufacturing pyramid command control. Goodbye, good riddance. Instead, the alternative, the Jekyll and Hyde, is leadership. Leadership is having a vision. It's having other people follow you, having a positive impact on yourself, on others, your organization, your stakeholders, and society as a whole. Leadership is a word that comes with another word, followers. By leading, other people are willing to gravitate to you. They trust in you. They have faith in you. They're willing to put aside their own self-interest for the greater good of this vision that you've created for them. It's about how you, and you can't fake it till you make it. Leadership is bona fide modeling best behavior. So I said before in my intro that there's no one kind of leadership. Now, some of these are not technically leading, they're managing, but let's talk about them at a high level. And if you're interested, reach out to me. We'll schedule one-on-one. We can talk about this for you, your leadership team, other people you partner with. But the autocrat is the first style. The autocrat is, I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care about your background. I don't care what you think you can contribute. We're doing it my way. We're going this direction. You're either following me or find a different career, find a different organization. This is my way or the highway. It is detrimental to any kind of participative, collaborative, democratic institutional structure. Then there's the bureaucrat. The bureaucrat is comfortable with rules, policies, procedures. They like structure. They like prior modeling. Unknown scares them. Startups scares them. The inherent entrepreneurial hustle scares the bejesus out of them. They like structure, familiarity, certainty. Not that a whole lot of that exists nowadays, but that's what they're comfortable in. That's their kind of preferred workplace environment. Charisma, the cult of personality. People gravitate to charismatic leaders. Sometimes there's a direct line correlation that we've learned in the field of organizational behavior between charismatic leaders and manipulative sociopaths, people who are verily, very capable of influencing others. They're outgoing, they're affable, they have amazingly magnetic, strong personalities. That's the cult of charismatic leadership. Then there's the democratic participative leader. She or he don't feel comfortable unless everybody else's voice is heard. They understand that it may take longer to come to consensus and decision making, but democratic participative leaders want all voices to be heard, even the roughly 30% of the workforce that are introverts by nature. They want everybody to be able to contribute. They understand intuitively that everybody has potential, strong, positive contributions to make, and all ideas should be solicited. There's no such thing as bad ideas, especially during brainstorming and idea generation initiatives. Transformational leaders, that's what today's video is all about. Transformational leaders want to change the world. They see the world as it can be. They see their organization. They see others as they can be. The very word transform is to take something that exists that's suboptimal in their way of thinking and create a optimal impact. optimal solution, optimal outcome. They're comfortable changing for the better. They're the true bona fide leaders when I talk about leadership. Laissez-faire, delegative, if you report to them, they'll give you a long rope to hang yourself. They don't care. They won't get in your way. They won't prevent you. They won't stop any initiatives you're pursuing. They won't get in the way of you going out on a limb and taking risks. However, delegated managers are very comfortable with if something doesn't go the right way, the way you intended, dare I say, you took a risk and you may have failed, they'll throw you under the bus. I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't tell you to proceed. I didn't encourage you to do that. This is what happens when that's laissez-faire management. People relations oriented. They feel comfortable in socially outgoing engagements. In the 1980s, we called it management by walking around, but people relations oriented, the Chinese proverb, death of a thousand cuts, torture for these kinds of leaders would be to stick them in a cubicle, stick them by themselves, have them do data entry, have them work by themselves all day long. That would be torture. So you want to align these kind of personality individuals with socially extroverted. They make great event planners. They're great in being project leaders. They're very focused on relationship cultivation and team building. Servant leaders, they exist to serve. You can see it, the thread in their DNA of their career, and all the way up from when they were in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all the way up from volunteering, being in service organizations, being in Kiwanis or Rotary. You can see it when they've started community gardens, when they're active in their school board, when they run for public office, when they're active in their local religious organization. They live to serve. They feel most empowered when they are helping, maybe coaching mentoring programs, maybe starting up employee idea generation programs. Maybe you ask them to come up with employee resource groups, whatever. They need to be of service. Leverage them. They're such a unique personality trait. Task-oriented individuals. They have their list of to-dos. They feel comfortable when they're checking things off of their accomplishments. I have it every day in my little notepad. We have a list of things to do. We prioritize it. Check is done. X is no. Arrow says we moved it forward to the next day. They are very focused on task completion. Who owns the task? Who's responsible? Who's contributing? Start date, end date, contingencies, prioritization. Let them be the project manager. Vaya con Dios. That's their strength. Transactional are people who are only thinking about short term. They're only thinking about the deal. They're only thinking about the carrot that's right in front of their face. They don't see the long view, and they're typically what's in it for me. Those are the kinds of attributes. So I leave the last one because this to me ties into the transformational leader. We call it the ethical or the 4P model. And this is the one when I coach in organizations, this is what I work with other than the transformational leadership mapping. I work with leadership teams with this construct, this framework. The first is a sense of purpose, the purpose for the organization. Why do we exist? The next is probity, just a fancy big word, which means moral compass, values. What do we stand for? What is our construct? Doing good. You may have heard of the new, it's not a for-profit, it's not a nonprofit, it's profit with a purpose. Probity is having a set of values, core ideology. Chick-fil-A is not open on Sundays for a very specific reason. That's their value construct. People. An ethical organization focuses on their people first. They don't focus, as I coach them not to. They don't focus on strategy first. They don't focus on operational efficiency. All of that is meaningless if you don't have the right people. We focus on the people side of the business. Employees first, clients second. Always in that order. And the last is planet. Green, sustainability. Our planet is a finite resource. We are destroying it. We are poisoning it with our toxic consumption behaviors. Organizations care about the planet in this ethical 4P model. So where are you on the continuum? This is when I sit down and do one-on-one executive coaching. We map through this. We do a personality assessment tool. I'm certified in DISC, but there are others that follow Carl Jung's kind of psychological categorization schemas of preferred behavior. Know where you stand on two axes. The first is the x-axis, how you get the work done, how you actually perform. Are you transactional in nature, meaning you just take advantage of what's right in front of you, or do you want to change the world? That's the x-axis. That's how you get the work done. And then the vertical axis, the Y, is the relationship cultivation. How are you most comfortable in relationships? The autocrat on one end of the spectrum, all the way to the democratic participative on the other end. And you find where you are. And this isn't a value judgment. When I work with my clients, this is just basically understanding where you are right now. We do this first. I typically do DISC, although there's Meyer-Briggs, Strong, Berkman, Kersey. There's a lot of other personality assessment tools. I do DISC. But we start with you as the owner, the founder, the decision maker. And then we also model it out with your leadership team to see where people are mapped out in terms of their preference of engaging. So what makes a leader great? You have to be able to make decisions. You have to be able to do it logically without much passion. So objectively, you have to include others. You have to align yourself with experts. You have to gather all the information, but you have to do it in a strategic way that ultimately benefits not just you, narcissistic sociopaths don't understand this, but the organization, your team, your employees, and your stakeholders. You think about modeling it out from a positive impact on all. You don't make decisions that aren't yours to make. And it's not necessarily always, well, we can do this or this. It's right or it's wrong. Sometimes, oftentimes, and I coach this in decision making and strategic planning, you have multiple options which are based on a number of critical considerations: access to resources, timing, partners, existing workforce, competitive environment, regulatory environment, right? Access to capital. All of those are what we do scenario plan, contingency plan, risk mitigation. We come up with different scenarios. You never rush to make a decision. Even if the opportunity is there for a limited time, you want to be able to make the right decision that way. So I talk a little bit about Daniel Goleman. I think that his work has been greatly inflated, misunderstood. The field of emotional intelligence, he is the godfather of it. He did seminal work on it, but it has significant limitations. But we're not going to talk about that today. I'm just going to lay out the foundation of what the process is, and we can talk through it one-on-one when you get a complimentary consult with me. So at a high level, Daniel Goleman, his emotional intelligence was developed to understand how we act in ourselves and how that frames how we then engage others. It's a four-step process, and the beauty of Goleman's model is you have to do them sequentially. You can't go out of order. They're chronological. The first is, how am I doing? Am I self-aware? How am I feeling at this moment in time? We have to be able to own that, identify it so that we can act on it. So the first step, self-awareness, leads us to the second step, according to Daniel Goleman, self-management. Okay, I'm keeping it real with myself. This is how I'm feeling right now. Understood. I can see why I'm feeling that way. But let me just get through this. Let me manage this. Let me kind of understand that so that I can effectively engage with whatever I need that's right in front of me to resolve that. I know this too shall pass. So that's self-management, is step two. Only by doing self-regulation to self-management are we prepared to move on to other people. And that's called social awareness. Have you noticed there are people you may have worked with, reported to, maybe served because they were your clients? They have no idea what's going on around people around them. They don't care. They're not naturally curious. They don't ask questions. They don't have any natural curiosity for others. That's social awareness, the ability to say, okay, I'm in control of my emotions. Now let me go and figure out how to be of service, of help, of guidance to others. So you start to notice other people's behaviors. And that social awareness leads to what many people mistakenly assumed was the totality of Daniel Goleman's seminal work, but it was just step 4 of a logical progression. The fourth step is called social management, and that's having productive, constructive, positive, mutually beneficial relationships with others. So having said that, we apply this, I coach and consult this inside organizations to constantly learn in a collaborative ecosystem. You create a culture of learning. How? It's not training. It's not micro training. This skill, this moment. It's not having a Coach, come to an end of quarter or end of year offsite retreat once a year, one and done. That's bullshit. What it is constantly taking a look from your individuals, whether they're 5 or 50,000, each individual as a contributing member unto themselves to a team. How does the individual maximize their own unique potential to perform and produce at the highest level? Now, commingle them on teams and see how do you maximize team performance, which I do in my consulting practice. So you have the individual unleashing their untapped potential through learning, development, career and professional development. You have them architect their own goals. You have them work in conjunction with a coach and a mentor and leadership to define what their career and professional narrative arc is, their trajectory in the organization. You map that out with the additional skills of their team members, and then you fit that team in the construct of the division, the department, the location, and then ultimately the organization. So I've taken the pyramid, blown it up, or if you're comfortable with it, flip it upside down, and it all begins with the individual in your organization. You deliver not just training, but resources, tools, support, funding, whatever the employee needs. And here's the kicker. In a department, let's say customer service, you may have 10 individuals, similar background, similar experience, they're performing similar roles. Every single one of them has different wants, needs, desires, hopes, fears, career expectations, professional development goals. You need to treat them as an individual. So the learning organization is a purely custom initiative. This gets to what Carol Dweck was famous for saying in her development decades in the field of psychology, studying optimal performance. How do people learn optimally to fulfill their inherent abilities, to unleash their untapped potential? The growth mindset is this. How do we, as individuals, leaders, create this growth mindset first in ourselves, then in the people we hire around us, who are the leadership team. And then ultimately, we do this with every individual. So what that means is you need to fundamentally blow up your talent acquisition, talent management strategy. It has nothing to do with job descriptions anymore. That's so 20th century. Instead, you want to cultivate a environment, a culture, in which every single person you bring in, you vet it because they have demonstrably proven through behavioral interviewing, they've given you examples in their past when they went out of their way to develop skills, to challenge themselves. Fear of failure doesn't exist for them. When they're constantly doing things like taking a gap year or studying abroad or learning a new language or challenging themselves to a new coding language, they're constantly in growth mindset. And the key tenets, there's no such thing as it's in us or we can gather it. Our genes and our environment cooperate equally. This is what I said at the onset, you may remember. I'm bringing this all back together. Success is about challenging. You know, for a while we were in organizational development, we subscribed to this idea of stretch goals, where if you push somebody, you challenge them, you make them kind of go as hard as they can. They may not make it to the stars, but they'll reach the moon. There's a modicum of truth to that. We have to stretch ourselves. But you either believe that your abilities are finite and you can't exceed them, you've exhausted all your capability to grow. And that's a limiting, destructive mindset that most people who I coach are firmly in that space, or you believe that you can constantly grow. And that's what we want to go for as leaders. Your basic qualities you have cultivated throughout your life. Where you are right now, you've developed those skills. That doesn't mean you're done. It doesn't mean you've reached the end of your ability to develop and grow. And so that when we get setbacks, when we get barriers, when we get challenges that may seem to prevent us from moving on, that's just a way of rethinking, learning, and modifying to enable ourselves to step through, break through, and achieve future success. Pygmalion effect is our effect on others. And I don't think enough people understand this, which is why they suck at leading. They're just god-awful individuals. So here's how this works in practice. I'm going to apply it as a theory. I'm going to walk it through in practice, and then we can talk it through one-on-one. So we have beliefs about other people, right? Sometimes within seconds of meeting somebody new, we've already formed opinions. We've already put our understanding of them onto them without even knowing them. So our beliefs about others affects how we act towards them. We love them, we hate them, we treat them the way we feel, right? That's how we act based on our beliefs about them. So now that action that we give towards them makes them feel a certain way about themselves. So then they internalize based on how you're acting towards them, which causes them to act a certain way back to us, which literally only serves to reinforce those potentially false assumptions that we had right out of the gate when we first engaged with them. So you can see how this is a self-destructive, self-fulfilling process of misunderstanding other people. So what does it mean to become a leader? Who are you right now? And this is typically where I have the most fun working with individuals. People have to want to follow you, or you can't be a leader. They go together, like peanut butter and chocolate, or peanut butter and honey, even peanut butter and jelly. Look, I'm hungry, you get the point. Talked about emotional intelligence. There's merit to it in terms of understanding ourselves at a greater level to be able to better serve other people. Understand your strengths and weaknesses. One of the first things I do when I do an audit of a potential client is we do a SWOT analysis. You may be familiar from a marketing standpoint, SWO2, strengths, weaknesses, that's inside of us, and opportunities and threats are outside of us. Those are the relationships we have, our workplace, business objective, business opportunities, and threats. But we start inside ourselves. Always. That's what effective leaders do. And then we solicit feedback from other people. I typically do a comparative word cloud with people I coach. So what you would do is, as a leader, you care enough that you'd say, these are the top 5 or 6 or 7 one-word adjectives I want to be known for. These are the things I want other people to think about me and say about me. Ideally, our centers of influence, our ideal business referral partners. So we take that list of those one-word adjectives we want others to say about us, to think about us. Now go ask 5 or 6 or 7 people. Go ahead. I dare you. I double Dutch dare you. Ask those other people who know you well, partners, coworkers, significant others, really, really good friends. Ask them if they had to come up with a list of one-word adjectives to describe you, what would they be? Get that list, those 5, 6, 7 people. That's about 35 to 40 in all, one-word adjectives. You compare that cumulative list with your list. If your list and their list are pretty close, you're being authentic as a leader. You're being honest, transparent. If there's any degree, simply, it's not a negative, that is an opportunity for you to get really valuable feedback, which we need in a growth mindset as a lifelong learner, to be authentic. How we act, which is how we've impacted others, should mirror the words that we say we want to use. So you need a 5-step plan, and I'll work with you on this, but this is at its simplistic level. You need a plan. Forget those 5-year plans, 2-year plans. The world is too chaotic and uncertain. We're in June 3rd of 2025. I would say for the rest of 2025. Here's your 2-quarter, your 6-month snapshot plan. What's your vision for yourself? Literally, 2 or 3 sentence summary, paragraph. Where do you see yourself? Now you're going to start to share your vision with your inner sanctum, those people who are in your tribe. Now, a leader takes charge. What are you going to do to take charge of yourself, your business, starting a business? Maybe you manage a project. I don't care. All I want is examples on your tracking sheet when we work through one-on-one together, your leadership plan of development, your plan of attack. When are you going to take charge? And how are you going to inspire by example? Start a podcast. I did. Start a group that you facilitate. I did. Conduct a roadshow. Go out and start to speak to people. Get out of this one face-to-face environment and go meet people, talk to them. How are they doing? I do. I said before, your SWOT analysis, your strengths and weaknesses, we start there. As leaders, we're always asking, what am I good at? How do I leverage that? What are challenges? What are things that I need to work on? Real leaders feel most comfortable in this environment. And then the external outside of us, as I mentioned before, is opportunities and threats. The notion of self-leadership is you more than anybody else have control over the direction you go. If you don't know where you're going, scarecrow, any road will take you there. In the it's not enough to say we're going to excel at what we do. You're not working autonomously. You're not out there by yourselves. Even those of you who run your own practice, it takes a village. We work in collaboration. There's work-life balance. That doesn't mean that we always are comfortably in sync with our work and our out of work. It means that something's got to give. There's only 168 hours in a week. We work in a post-COVID, hybrid, virtually dispersed team. That's just an understanding that we come to grips with. The constant rapid change and transformation means you have no choice but to empower your employees. You have to give them full autonomy. Autonomy is four things, according to Daniel Pink, right? Autonomy is you have to allow people to choose what they work on, how they get the work done, where they do it from, and who they do it with. And in order to do that, as I said before, you need to fundamentally transform your hiring to go find people who are amazing, who have demonstrated their ability to self-manage, to self-lead, and then bring them into your organization and then find a role for them. Organizations must enable their people to lead themselves or they will fail. How do I know? Look at the failure rate across any industry. Let's just focus on the United States, shall we? We look at the rapid adoption of artificial intelligence, technology. For entrepreneurs, it's EOS systems, EOS integrators, implementers. We look at this rapid chase of technological innovation, robotics, automation. We know that businesses are failing left and right because they're not empowering their self-leaders determine what they're going to work on. They take initiatives, they set their own priorities, and they solve their problems independently. Last is delegation. Why do you do it? Because it builds trust in your people. You hire rock stars and constantly challenge them to grow. You cross-train maybe somebody who in their career, they've been in customer service, but they actually have a strong ability to sell. So maybe all of a sudden you train them over on sales. So they can do client acquisition. And then once the client comes on board, they can do the onboarding and the service. Maybe somebody from HR is really good at marketing. They really enjoy doing the marketing material that resonates with their audience. You're cross-training them into the marketing organization. But you don't do this unless you know not just the skills somebody's currently working on for you, but what their other capabilities, skills, background, education, certifications, training, language proficiency, cultural diversity. You have no idea unless you understand the totality of their portfolio of what they have to offer you. And then you can coach them up, you can mentor them, their performance management plans. You need to sit with them every week, not once a year. So identify the best use of your time and what to delegate. Can somebody else do it better? Do you have time to delegate or are you doing it yourself? A lot of people cop out and say, if this takes too long to explain it, I can just do it. Stop the insanity. Should you delegate? If yes, you do it in such a way that you train the individual you're delegating the work to, that they're not going to just come back to you. That's called the boomerang effect. You need to teach them, if I do this, then that happens. The benefit is this, the negative potential is that. And you have them do that for, option A, option B, option C. They determine which of those three options is best. They come back to you and they say, here are the three things we can do. These are the positives, the negatives. I suggest we do option B because, and you say, well done, vaya con Dios, I'm proud of you. That's true meaningful delegation. So people are leading. Now what? Serve. Serve people. What do your employees want, need, expect from you? Listen hard. God gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason. You earned their trust when you hired them. That wasn't the end. That was day one. The next 365 days a year is earning their trust repeatedly, teaching them, growing them, coaching them, mentoring them, supporting them, rewarding them, recognizing them, promoting them, training them, teaching them, validating them. Constantly pursue change. If you're not changing, you're staying the same, you're falling back. Share leadership. See, that's the whole thing. I mentioned the autocrat. The autocrat believes that their people are incapable of leading because they hire suboptimal people, and it's a self-fulfilling Pygmalion effect of failed organizational culture. Build strong teams. Want to know how? Or are you struggling? reach out to me. We can talk through it. Leadership, nature, nurture. Some of it, most of it is already in you, but there's opportunities constantly to develop your leadership. If your actions inspire you to dream more, to learn more, and do more, and become more, you're a leader. So look inside yourself for the answers. You're the only one who knows what's best for you. Everybody else is only guessing. That's why every month I have my clients take a time out. We do a personal introspection audit. How did you do? What were your strengths? What weaknesses did you uncover? What opportunities presented themselves and what threats did you avoid? What does this mean for you? I'm so glad you took time to come and check out this video today. What it means is leadership. And I said before, the only of the 11 examples I wanted to talk about today was transformational leadership. Be extraordinary. Everything you need to excel is already in you. It's there. It's just a question of cultivating it. So thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy, hectic day. Maybe you will watch this a few times. And by the way, if you like this video, I have over 550 videos on my YouTube channel just like this that are intended to inspire you, give you the ideas and the insights you need to become the person you always hope to be. So please take time out. You're here in my YouTube channel. Like the video, and really, if you enjoyed the content, please be sure to subscribe. It really helps to support me and get my word out. And for follow-up, best way to reach out to me is just shoot me a quick email, ethan@thechazingroup.com. You can also send me a text or call me, 917-239-5571. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you best of luck in all of your continuing career and professional pursuits. Thank you so much. Best of luck.